History is full of bizarre yet true events like Australia's Great Emu War, the exploding whale of Oregon, and the dancing plague of 1518. Some moments, however, go beyond strange. They remain completely unexplainable. No matter how much time has passed or how many theories experts throw at them, these eerie events refuse to be solved. From baffling disappearances to artifacts that defy historical timelines, the past is packed with moments that leave even the sharpest minds stumped. Some are unsettling, others are downright terrifying, but all of them challenge our understanding of reality. Were they coincidences, hoaxes, or proof that history still holds secrets we may never unlock? Let's take a journey through 15 of the freakiest moments in history, events so strange they might just make you rethink everything you thought you knew. Number 15. The Russian Fireball of 1663. On August 15, 1663, the villagers of Robo-Zero, Russia, were gathered at the local church for the Feast of the Assumption when a deafening noise shattered the calm. Rushing outside, they witnessed something straight out of a nightmare. A massive, blazing sphere streaking across the sky, trailing fire as it moved over Lake Zarobozero. Eyewitnesses estimated the object to be nearly 140 feet in diameter, with two radiant beams extending ahead of it. The fireball vanished over the lake, only to return less than an hour later, this time heading west. It vanished again, but when it reappeared a third time, it had grown even larger. The lake's surface glowed an eerie red, illuminating the depths below, while the intense heat scorched fishermen in their boats. Was it a meteor, a rare atmospheric phenomenon, or something far stranger? For centuries, speculation has ranged from aliens to divine omens. To this day, no one knows for sure. Number 14. The Tunguska Event. On June 30th, 1908, something exploded over Siberia with the force of 1,000 Hiroshima bombs. The blast flattened 80 million trees across 830 square miles. Yet, somehow, there was no crater. The best guess? A meteoroid or comet detonated in the atmosphere about 3 to 6 miles above the Earth. Witnesses reported a fireball streaking across the sky, followed by a shockwave so powerful it knocked people off their feet and shattered windows hundreds of miles away. Despite the explosion's massive scale, the remote location meant scientists didn't investigate until 1927, 19 years later. They found scorched trees radiating outward from a central point, further supporting the airburst theory. The Tunguska event remains one of history's biggest unsolved space mysteries. If a similar impact happened over a populated city today, let's just say we'd be having a very different conversation about planetary defense strategies. Number 13. The disappearance of the Roanoke colony. When John White returned to Roanoke Island in 1590, he expected to find the English colony he left behind. Instead, he found nothing. No people, no bodies, just a single clue, Croatoan, carved into a post. What happened to the 115 settlers? Theories range from assimilation with Native American tribes to starvation, disease, or even Spanish attacks. But no definitive evidence has ever surfaced. Recent archaeological digs suggest some survivors may have joined the Croatoan, Hatteras tribe, as European artifacts have been found in native settlements. But without concrete proof, Roanoke remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. The lost colony has inspired centuries of speculation, ghost stories, and even horror fiction. Looking at you, American Horror Story. Until we find real answers, Roanoke will remain one of the most haunting disappearances in history. Number 12. The Pollock Sisters. If there's ever been a convincing case for reincarnation, it's the story of the Pollock sisters. In 1957, two young girls, Joanna and Jacqueline Pollock, were tragically killed in a car accident in England. Their parents were devastated. until something eerie happened. A year later, Florence Pollock gave birth to identical twin girls, Jennifer and Jillian. As they grew, the twins began exhibiting uncanny similarities to their late sisters, matching birthmarks, shared interests, and even detailed memories of events they couldn't possibly know about. When they visited their old home, they recognized landmarks they had never seen before. Coincidence? Some skeptics say grieving parents unconsciously influenced the twins' behaviors, but believers argue this is proof of past lives. Whatever the explanation, the Pollock sisters remain one of the most compelling reincarnation mysteries ever recorded. So, do you believe in second chances? Number 11. The Tanganyika laughter epidemic. In 1962, a laughter epidemic swept through Tanzania, proving that sometimes humor really is contagious, just not in the way you'd expect. It started at a girls' boarding school when 3 students began laughing uncontrollably. No big deal, right? Except it didn't stop. Soon, dozens more were laughing, and within weeks, the phenomenon had spread to over 1,000 people across multiple villages. This wasn't joyful laughter either. Victims reported pain, fainting, breathing difficulties, and even crying while laughing. Schools shut down, and entire communities were affected. The cause? Likely mass hysteria, triggered by stress and anxiety in a tense post-independence era. Despite various theories, ranging from neurological disorders to toxic exposure, no definitive explanation has ever been found. Eventually, the epidemic fizzled out as mysteriously as it began, but it remains one of history's strangest psychological outbreaks. Number 10. The Hector Cloud. Every afternoon, like clockwork, a towering thundercloud forms near Australia's Tiwi Islands. Nicknamed Hector the Convector, this storm has been appearing daily from September to March for decades. What makes Hector so special? Meteorologists say it's caused by sea breezes colliding with the island's rugged terrain, creating the perfect conditions for an afternoon storm. But why does it happen so precisely every single day? That's still a bit of a mystery. Pilots once used Hector as a navigation landmark, and scientists now study it to understand storm patterns better. It's one of the most consistent weather phenomena on Earth, but it still has secrets left to unravel. Future research may shed light on Hector's inner workings, but for now, it remains nature's most punctual thundercloud, showing up to work at 3 p.m. sharp, no matter what. Number 9. 2 men who claimed they were abducted by aliens. On the night of October 11, 1973, something happened to Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker that neither of them would ever forget. While fishing on the Pascagoula River in Mississippi, they saw strange lights in the sky and heard an eerie whirring sound. When they looked up, they saw an oval-shaped craft hovering nearby, about 40 feet across and 10 feet high. Before they could react, they were paralyzed and lifted aboard. Inside, they described humanoid beings with robotic pincers, who subjected them to bizarre examinations before releasing them. Both men were visibly shaken when they reported the incident to authorities. Some dismissed their claims as hallucinations, while others pointed to a walking dream state. However, a secret recording captured their terrified conversation after the police left the room, suggesting they truly believed what had happened. Whether fact or fiction, the Pascagoula abduction is pretty brain-boggling. Number 8. The Inuit village that vanished without a trace. In 1930, Canadian fur trapper Joe LaBelle arrived at a remote Inuit village in the Arctic, only to find it completely abandoned. This wasn't just a few missing people. The entire population had vanished. Fires were out, food was left untouched, and not a single footprint led away from the site. Adding to the eerie mystery, LaBelle discovered 7 sled dogs buried in the snow, starved to death inside a man-made grave. A search party was sent out, but no bodies were ever found, only strange, inexplicable details. Some claim to see unusual lights in the sky around the time of the disappearance, fueling rumors of alien abduction. Others suggested the villagers were lost in a sudden storm, but without tracks or bodies, that theory didn't hold up. Decades later, the case remains unsolved, one of the Arctic's most chilling disappearances. Number 7. The Max Headroom hijackings. In 1987, Chicago TV audiences were treated to one of the creepiest broadcast hijackings in history. Twice in one night, an unknown figure wearing a Max Headroom mask interrupted local programming, spewing cryptic rants, bizarre pop culture references, and getting spanked with a fly swatter. The distorted audio, jerky movements, and eerie rotating background made the whole thing feel like a fever dream. But here's the real mystery. No one knows who did it. Despite FBI investigations and tech experts trying to trace the signal, the hijackers were never caught. Even after the statute of limitations expired, no one stepped forward. To this day, the Max Headroom hijackings remain one of the most bizarre and unexplained moments in television history. A prank? A protest? Or something far stranger? Well, only God knows. Number 6. The hum. For decades, people around the world have reported hearing a low, unidentifiable hum, a deep, droning noise that never stops. It's been heard in Windsor, Ontario, Taos, New Mexico, and even the UK. Some describe it as maddening, causing headaches, insomnia, and even nausea. Theories range from secret military experiments to underground geological activity. In Windsor, the hum mysteriously stopped when a local steel plant shut down, suggesting an industrial cause. But in many places, no explanation has ever been found. Not everyone can hear it, which only makes the mystery weirder. Is it a rare auditory phenomenon, a side effect of modern technology, or something deliberately hidden from us? Until science catches up, the hum remains a worldwide enigma, either a glitch in the matrix or an annoying sound we just weren't meant to hear. Number 5. The father of psychical research. Long before ghost hunting TV shows, there was Joseph Glanville, a man who dared to take the supernatural seriously. A philosopher and scientist of the 17th century, Glanville was a member of the prestigious Royal Society and is often regarded as the father of psychical research. But unlike skeptics who dismissed paranormal claims outright, Glanville believed in approaching them with scientific rigor. His most famous investigations centered on the bizarre case of the Mompesson poltergeist. It all started when a magistrate named John Mompesson confiscated the drum of a vagrant musician, William Drury. Soon after, Mompesson's home in Tedworth, Wiltshire, became a battleground of unexplained activity. Objects flew through the air, children levitated, and the phantom sound of a drum echoed through the halls. Glanville personally witnessed the eerie disturbances and documented them in his 1668 book, Sadducismus Triumphatus. While skeptics called it a hoax, Glanville argued that blind disbelief was just as unscientific as blind faith. Could it be that his observations hold more truth than we're willing to admit? Number 4. The serpent creature of the Alps. Deep within the towering peaks of the Swiss Alps lurks a creature that has haunted folklore for centuries. Known as the Tatzelwurm, which translates to worm with claws, this serpent-like beast has been reported since the early 1700s. In 1711, a man named Jean Tinner claimed he shot at the creature with his musket, but it slithered away unscathed. Then in 1779, Hans Fuchs came face to face with not one, but 2 of these monsters. He described them as being 5 to 7 feet long, with feline heads, scaled bodies, and sharp claws. Overcome with terror, Fuchs suffered a fatal heart attack immediately after the sighting. Skeptics suggest that the Tatzelwurm could be a misidentified species, perhaps a giant salamander or a surviving prehistoric reptile. But with sightings continuing into the 20th century, some believe that the Alps may still be hiding. Number 3. The Vampire Scare of 1732. In the winter of 1732, the Serbian village of Medveja became the epicenter of one of the most chilling vampire cases in history. It all started with a man named Arnold Paole, who had died weeks earlier. But according to terrified locals, he had returned from the grave, attacking villagers in the dead of night. The hysteria grew when those allegedly bitten by Paole also began dying mysteriously. In desperation, the villagers exhumed his body and recoiled in horror. Paole's corpse was unnervingly fresh, with blood oozing from his mouth, nose, and ears. Convinced he was a vampire, they drove a wooden stake through his heart. He let out a terrifying scream, and even more blood gushed from his body. But the terror didn't end there. More suspected vampires were unearthed, each showing similar signs of creepy preservation. This caught the attention of Johann Fluckinger, an Austrian army doctor, who conducted a formal investigation. His detailed report, filled with clinical observations, sent shockwaves through Enlightenment Europe. Even great thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau debated the case. To this day, the Fluckinger report remains one of the most infamous vampire accounts in history. Number 2. The Day It Rained Meat. Imagine stepping outside and seeing raw meat falling from the sky. That's exactly what happened in Bath County, Kentucky, on March 3, 1876. Witnesses, including the farmer's wife, Mrs. Crouch, saw chunks of meat, some as large as 4 inches, raining down over a 100 by 50-yard area. Theories spread faster than the meat itself. Some claimed it was a bizarre weather phenomenon. Others said it was a sign from God. Scientists later analyzed the samples and determined they were lung tissue from either a horse or a human. Yep, that's even weirder. The most accepted explanation? Vultures. Apparently, when a group of vultures is too full to keep flying, they sometimes, brace yourself, vomit mid-air to lighten the load. If that's true, the Kentucky meat shower wasn't divine intervention, but really unfortunate bird barf. Whatever the truth, it remains one of the strangest weather-related events ever recorded in human history. Number 1. The Strange Death of Jean Lemaire. One cold morning in February 1725, Jean Millet, an innkeeper in Reims, France, awoke to a nightmare. His wife, Jean Lemaire, had been reduced to smoldering ashes on the kitchen floor. The fire that consumed her had been so intense that almost nothing remained of her body, except for a few extremities. Strangely, while the floor beneath her was scorched, nearby objects remained untouched. The authorities immediately suspected murder and arrested Jean Millet, who was rumored to be having an affair. But without any evidence linking him to the fire, he was acquitted. Enter Claude Nicolas Lecat, a renowned surgeon of the time. He proposed a shocking explanation: spontaneous human combustion. He theorized that Jean's body had somehow ignited from within, fueled by alcohol consumption and a sedentary lifestyle. While SHC has remained a controversial theory, modern science still struggles to fully explain how a human body can burn so completely without destroying its surroundings. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.